I'm about to show you specific food additions that naturally lower A1C by mechanically slowing digestion and chemically improving how your body handles sugar. You might be cutting out every carbohydrate you love, yet still seeing your numbers creep up because you are focusing on subtraction rather than the powerful addition of functional foods. I have seen this dynamic repeatedly in older adults who believe they must starve themselves to manage diabetes, only to find that their liver dumps more glucose into their blood because of the stress this causes. I remember a man named James, a 68-year-old retired teacher, who came to me terrified to eat anything substantial because his post-meal numbers were unpredictable. He had lost muscle mass and energy, yet his A1C remained stubbornly high until we introduced specific buffer foods that stabilized his digestion without requiring extreme deprivation. This situation is dangerous because it often leads to frailty and malnutrition in seniors, while the underlying insulin resistance continues to worsen unchecked. It is possible that your current limited diet is actually provoking your body to produce more sugar internally. Before we begin, a critical disclaimer. The information I'm sharing today is strictly for educational purposes and should not be considered medical advice. I am not your personal physician and cannot provide individualized medical guidance through this video. Never stop, start, or change any diabetes medication without first consulting with your doctor. 1. Chia seeds. Start consuming 2 tablespoons of chia seeds that have been soaked in water or almond milk for at least 15 minutes before your breakfast or first meal of the day. This is not just about eating a healthy seed, it is about utilizing a specific mechanical property of chia called hydrophilicity, which means it absorbs water to create a thick, gel-like barrier. When you ingest this pre-soaked gel, it coats the lining of your stomach and mixes with your food, physically slowing down the rate at which your stomach empties into your small intestine. By creating this physical buffer, you prevent the rapid rush of glucose into your bloodstream that typically happens after a meal, giving your aging insulin response a fair chance to keep up. This matters because in adults over 60, the first phase insulin response, the body's immediate reaction to food, is often slower and weaker than it was in youth. A delay in stomach emptying matches the speed of digestion to the speed of your insulin, preventing the sharp spike that drives up your A1C over time. I recall a patient named Martha, 72, who struggled specifically with morning hunger and high readings after her oatmeal. She began adding pre-soaked chia gel to her bowl, and her 2-hour post-meal numbers dropped significantly because the glucose from the oats was trickling into her blood rather than flooding it. She felt fuller for hours and stopped needing a mid-morning snack, which further helped her daily glucose load. The mechanism at work here is the high concentration of soluble fiber, specifically mucilage, which expands up to 10 times its weight when hydrated. This expansion creates a viscous environment in the gut that traps carbohydrates and sugars, forcing digestive enzymes to work much harder and slower to break them down. It essentially turns a fast-acting carbohydrate meal into a slow-release energy source, mimicking the effect of a low-glycemic food without changing the food itself. Furthermore, this gel moves through the digestive tract unchanged, grabbing bile acids and cholesterol on its way out, which provides a secondary benefit for heart health, a crucial consideration for anyone with diabetes. To do this correctly, you must soak the seeds before you eat them. Eating them dry and then drinking water does not achieve the same immediate gel effect and can sometimes cause digestive discomfort. Mix 2 tablespoons of whole black or white chia seeds into half a cup of water or unsweetened almond milk and let it sit on the counter for about 15 to 20 minutes until it looks like a pudding. You can then eat this gel directly, mix it into yogurt, or stir it into your oatmeal, but ensure you drink an extra glass of water afterwards to keep everything moving smoothly. If you don't like the texture, you can blend the soaked seeds into a smoothie, as the fiber remains active even when pulverized. Be cautious if you have a history of swallowing difficulties or esophageal issues, as the seeds can be thick. Always ensure they are fully hydrated before swallowing. This simple addition creates a physical shield against rapid sugar spikes. 2. Apple cider vinegar. Drink 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar diluted in a tall glass of water approximately 10 to 15 minutes before eating your largest or most carbohydrate-heavy meal of the day. This simple kitchen staple acts as a powerful biochemical tool that temporarily inhibits the enzymes in your saliva and stomach responsible for breaking down starch. By slowing down the breakdown of complex carbohydrates into simple sugars, the vinegar effectively reduces the glycemic impact of whatever you are about to eat. It is a strategic lever you can pull on days when you know your meal will be richer than usual, acting as a safety valve for your blood sugar levels. This is particularly useful for seniors because it works independently of your insulin production, offering a way to manage glucose that doesn't tax your pancreas. It allows you to enjoy a normal family meal with less anxiety about the consequences on your meter later that evening. I remember a patient named Robert, 65, who dreaded Sunday family dinners because the pasta or potatoes always sent his numbers soaring, no matter how small his portion was. He started the habit of drinking this vinegar tonic before sitting down at the table, and he found that his post-dinner spike was blunted by nearly 20%, allowing him to participate in the meal without guilt or physical lethargy afterward. The explanation lies in the acetic acid found in the vinegar, which interferes with the activity of alpha amylase and other digestive enzymes. Under normal circumstances, these enzymes rapidly convert starches like bread, potatoes, or rice into glucose molecules that rush into the bloodstream. Acetic acid puts a temporary brake on this process, meaning that some of the starch passes through your system undigested or is digested much further down the intestine, where absorption is slower. Additionally, acetic acid has been shown to improve glucose uptake by the muscles, essentially opening the doors of your cells slightly wider to accept the sugar that does enter the blood. To implement this, mix 1 tablespoon of organic, unfiltered apple cider vinegar into at least 8 to 10 ounces of plain water. It is crucial to dilute it heavily because undiluted vinegar is highly acidic and can irritate your throat or damage the enamel on your teeth over time. Drink it through a straw if possible to bypass your teeth and consume it roughly 10 minutes before the first bite of your meal to prime your digestive system. If the taste is too strong, you can add a squeeze of lemon juice or a few drops of stevia, but avoid adding honey or sugar as that defeats the purpose. Do not do this if you have severe acid reflux or kidney disease without checking with your doctor, as the added acid can sometimes aggravate these conditions. This blocks the enzymes that turn starch into sugar too quickly. 3. Fatty fish, sardines or salmon. Replace 1 serving of processed meat or grain-fed beef with a serving of fatty fish like sardines, salmon, or mackerel at least twice a week. This change is designed to target the hidden inflammation that drives insulin resistance, which is often the root cause of high fasting blood sugar in adults over 60. Many seniors are confused by high morning numbers even when they haven't eaten sugar the night before. This is frequently due to the liver dumping glucose in response to systemic inflammation. By shifting your protein source to one rich in omega-3 fatty acids, you are directly calming this internal fire and making your cell membranes more fluid and responsive to insulin. This is a critical adjustment because as we age, our cell membranes tend to become stiffer, making it difficult for insulin to dock and let sugar in, a condition known as insulin resistance. The specific fats found in these cold water fish incorporate themselves into your cell walls, restoring flexibility and allowing the insulin receptors to function properly again. I have seen a patient named Eleanor, 70, whose diet was low in sugar but high in inflammatory deli meats and vegetable oils, and her A1C wouldn't budge. Once she swapped her lunch sandwich for a salad topped with sardines or leftover salmon, her fasting glucose numbers began to drift down over the course of a few months because her body was no longer fighting a constant inflammatory battle. The science here focuses on the ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids in the body. Most modern diets are heavy in omega-6s, which can be pro-inflammatory. Fatty fish provide a potent dose of EPA and DHA, the 2 types of omega-3s that frankly suppress the production of inflammatory cytokines that interfere with insulin signaling. When inflammation drops, the liver receives the signal that the body is safe, and does not need to pump out extra glucose for energy, which is often why fasting numbers are high in the morning. Furthermore, protein from fish is highly satiating without triggering a large insulin release, helping to stabilize blood sugar for hours after the meal. To do this, stock your pantry with high-quality canned sardines packed in olive oil or water, not soybean or vegetable oil. If you prefer fresh fish, bake or steam a piece of salmon for dinner and make enough to have leftovers for lunch the next day, as cold salmon is excellent on greens. Aim for a portion size of about 3 to 4 ounces, which is roughly the size of a deck of cards or a checkbook. It requires no complicated cooking. Simply opening a tin of sardines and mashing them with avocado creates a powerful anti-inflammatory meal in under 2 minutes. Limit your consumption of large predatory fish like swordfish or king mackerel due to potential mercury content. Stick to smaller fish like sardines, anchovies, and wild-caught salmon, which are cleaner. This quiets the inflammation that forces your liver to dump sugar. 4. Blueberries. Incorporate a controlled serving of blueberries into your daily routine to actively improve how your cells respond to insulin. Unlike many other fruits that are high in fructose and can cause blood sugar spikes, blueberries contain a specific class of antioxidants called anthocyanins, the pigment that gives them their deep blue color, which have been shown to directly enhance insulin sensitivity. This means they help your cells hear the insulin signal more clearly, clearing glucose from your bloodstream more efficiently after a meal. For a senior who craves something sweet but fears the consequences, this is the perfect functional substitute that satisfies the palate while working medicinally for the metabolism. This is important because managing diabetes is not just about avoiding sugar. It is about repairing the mechanism that processes it. Research specifically on older adults has indicated that regular consumption of dietary anthocyanins can lower insulin resistance and improve overall glucose control over time. I recall a patient named Margaret, 74, who had a terrible sweet tooth and would often break her diet with cookies in the afternoon, leading to guilt and high evening readings. We swapped her processed sweets for half a cup of fresh blueberries, and not only did her cravings subside, but her A1C dropped because she was fueling her body with a compound that repaired her metabolic machinery rather than clogging it. The science behind this involves the effect of bioactive compounds on the gut microbiome and the liver. The antioxidants in blueberries reduce oxidative stress in the body, a condition that worsens diabetes by damaging the beta cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. By lowering this oxidative load, you preserve the function of your remaining beta cells and support the liver in regulating glucose output. Furthermore, blueberries have a relatively low glycemic load compared to tropical fruits like bananas or pineapples, meaning they release their energy slowly and steadily. To use this strategy, eat half a cup of blueberries, fresh or frozen, once a day, ideally mixed with a source of protein or healthy fat, like Greek yogurt or a handful of walnuts. This combination further blunts any sugar release and maximizes absorption of the nutrients. You can also blend them into a smoothie with spinach, where their flavor will mask the greens entirely. Avoid dried blueberries, as the drying process concentrates the sugar significantly and removes the water content, making them much more likely to spike your blood sugar. If you are on blood thinners, consult your doctor, as very high amounts of vitamin K in greens or fruits can interact with medication, though a half cup is generally safe. This satisfies your sweet tooth while chemically helping your cells open their doors to sugar. 5. Ceylon cinnamon. Add half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon to your morning routine to mimic the effects of insulin at the cellular level. This is not the common cassia cinnamon you find in most grocery store spice aisles, which can be harmful to the liver in large doses. Ceylon cinnamon, known as true cinnamon, contains compounds that activate the same enzymes as insulin. When you consume this spice, it essentially acts as a backup key for your cells, unlocking them to allow glucose to enter and be used for energy even when your own insulin is struggling to do the job. It is a potent, natural way to lower fasting blood glucose levels without adding more pharmaceuticals to your regimen. This matters because as we age, our pancreas may produce less insulin, or our cells may stop responding to it effectively. Having a natural compound that can bypass some of these broken pathways offers a significant advantage in daily control. I worked with a patient named Thomas, 68, who had a stubborn dawn phenomenon. His blood sugar was always high after breakfast, regardless of what he ate. By stirring Ceylon cinnamon into his morning tea, he noticed that his mid-morning peak was consistently 20 points lower, giving him a much smoother start to the day and better energy levels before lunch. The mechanism of action is unique. Cinnamon slows the rate at which the stomach empties after a meal, similar to fiber, but it also works directly on the insulin receptors in muscle and fat tissue. It increases the expression of proteins that transport glucose into cells, effectively pulling sugar out of the bloodstream and putting it to work. This double-barreled effect, slowing digestion and increasing uptake, makes it one of the most effective spices for metabolic health. Studies have shown that consistent intake can lead to modest but meaningful reductions in A1C levels over a period of months. To implement this, purchase high-quality Ceylon cinnamon. It will usually be labeled clearly as Ceylon or Sri Lankan, and add half a teaspoon to your coffee grounds before brewing, stir it into oatmeal, or mix it into a cup of herbal tea. You can also sprinkle it on sliced apples or the blueberries mentioned earlier. Do not exceed 1 teaspoon per day, as more is not necessarily better, and ensure you are not using the cheaper cassia variety, which contains high levels of coumarin, a compound that can stress the liver if taken daily. If you are taking medication that can damage the liver or are on aggressive blood sugar lowering drugs, monitor your numbers closely, as the combination could potentially push you too low. This acts as a natural insulin mimetic to lower post-meal spikes. 6. The green starter. Commit to eating a small bowl of steamed green vegetables or a raw salad immediately before you take a bite of any carbohydrate on your plate. This strategy, often called nutrient sequencing, relies on the physical presence of fiber to line the upper part of the small intestine before the starch and sugar arrive. By eating your vegetables first, you create a mesh-like barrier that physically blocks the absorption of glucose into the bloodstream, forcing it to filter through slowly rather than rushing in all at once. It is arguably the single most effective same-day lever you can pull to lower the glucose spike of a specific meal without changing the food itself. This is a powerful tool for seniors because it allows you to eat the same foods you enjoy, but with a vastly better metabolic result, simply by changing the order in which you put them in your mouth. I remember a patient named David, 75, who loved his mashed potatoes and refused to give them up, causing constant friction with his previous doctors. I told him to keep the potatoes but to eat a cup of steamed broccoli with lemon juice before he touched them. He was shocked to find that his post-meal reading dropped by 30 points just from this reordering, proving that how you eat is often as important as what you eat. The reason this works is that the fiber from the vegetables delays gastric emptying and stimulates the production of a gut hormone called GLP-1. This hormone tells your pancreas to prepare for a load of sugar and tells your brain that you are getting full. By triggering this hormonal signal early in the meal with low-calorie greens, you prime your body to handle the subsequent carbohydrates much more efficiently. It changes the entire curve of your blood sugar response from a sharp, dangerous mountain peak to a low, manageable rolling hill. To do this, serve your dinner in courses, or simply segregate your plate. If you are having chicken, rice, and green beans, eat the green beans first, then the chicken, and save the rice for last. You can also keep a container of pre-washed spinach or leftover roasted asparagus in the fridge to eat while you are preparing your main meal. The goal is to get that fiber down into your stomach at least 5 to 10 minutes before the starch hits. It requires no special shopping, just a change in your table habits. Do not drown your starter greens in sugary dressings or honey mustard. Use olive oil and vinegar or simple lemon juice to keep the benefits intact. This simple change in order creates a biological safety net for your digestion. 8. The morning flush protocol. Commit to drinking 2 tall glasses of room temperature water immediately upon waking before you consume coffee, tea, or breakfast. This simple habit addresses a specific physiological state that affects almost every senior: morning dehydration-induced vasoconstriction. During sleep, you naturally lose fluids through breathing and sweat, and because the thirst mechanism blunts significantly with age, you likely wake up in a mild state of dehydration without realizing it. When your blood volume drops due to lack of water, your body compensates by releasing a hormone called vasopressin, which literally squeezes your blood vessels to maintain pressure, causing your morning numbers to be artificially high. This matters because thick, concentrated blood is harder for your heart to pump, requiring more force to push through the vascular system. By rehydrating immediately, you shut off the vasopressin signal and expand your blood volume, allowing your vessels to relax and your heart to pump more efficiently. I remember a patient named Arthur, 78, who suffered from dizzy spells and high morning pressure, a confusing combination that his previous doctors tried to treat with more medication. Once he started the morning flush protocol, his dizziness vanished, and his morning systolic reading dropped by 8 points, simply because his cardiovascular system was properly lubricated for the day. The mechanism here is purely hydraulic. Your blood is largely water, and when you are dehydrated, it becomes more viscous, increasing resistance against the arterial walls. Furthermore, proper hydration supports kidney function, which is the master regulator of blood pressure through sodium filtration. If your kidneys are water-starved, they will hoard sodium to hold onto fluid, which in turn keeps your blood pressure elevated. Front-loading your water intake ensures your kidneys have the resources they need to filter out excess salt right from the start of the day. To do this, place a full bottle of water on your nightstand or right next to your bathroom sink so you see it the moment you wake up. Drink it steadily, do not chug it, while you are getting dressed or preparing your morning routine. If plain water is difficult for you to tolerate first thing in the morning, a squeeze of lemon is acceptable, but avoid starting with coffee, as its diuretic effect can delay the rehydration process. You must signal to your body that it is safe to release fluids and relax the vessels before you add caffeine to the mix. Do not skip this if you have heart failure or are on fluid restriction. In those specific medical cases, you must adhere to the volume limits set by your cardiologist. This turns off the hormonal signal that constricts your vessels due to dehydration. 9. Morning light exposure. Spend 15 to 20 minutes outside in natural daylight within the first hour of waking up to regulate your circadian blood pressure rhythm. This is not about getting a tan. It is about allowing specific wavelengths of sunlight to hit your retina and your skin, which triggers a cascade of hormonal adjustments that lower blood pressure. In older adults, the internal body clock often becomes desynchronized, leading to disrupted cortisol patterns that keep blood pressure high when it should be dropping. Morning light acts as the master switch that resets this clock, telling your body to release cortisol early for energy and then drop it later in the day rather than having it leak out chronically and keep you stressed. This is critical because sunlight exposure also stimulates the skin to release stores of nitric oxide, the same vasodilator molecule we targeted with vegetables earlier, directly into the bloodstream. I worked with a patient named Clara, 69, who spent most of her mornings indoors watching the news in a dim living room, and she struggled with resistant hypertension that seemed to have no cause. We made a rule that she would drink her morning coffee on her porch or sit by a large open window, and within weeks, her midday numbers stabilized because she was chemically signaling her body to relax via the sun. The science involves the suppression of the renin-angiotensin system, a hormone system that regulates blood pressure and fluid balance. Vitamin D production from sunlight plays a role here, as low vitamin D levels are strongly linked to overactivity of this system, leading to chronic constriction of the arteries. By getting consistent light exposure, you are naturally suppressing the hormones that tighten your vessels while simultaneously boosting the chemicals that open them. It is a dual-action therapy that costs nothing but requires consistency to maintain the effect. To implement this, simply step outside for a short walk, sit on a bench, or do some light gardening in the morning light. You do not need to be in direct scorching sun. Even the ambient light on a cloudy day is significantly brighter than indoor lighting and will have a beneficial effect. If you live in a very cold climate or have mobility issues that keep you indoors, sitting next to a large east-facing window with the curtains fully pulled back is a good alternative, though direct outdoor exposure is always superior. Wear appropriate sun protection if you will be out for longer periods, but try to expose your arms or face for those initial 15 minutes to maximize the nitric oxide release. This uses natural light to chemically instruct your arteries to widen. 10. The darkness protocol for non-dippers. Ensure your bedroom is completely pitch black at night to encourage the natural dipping phenomenon of your blood pressure. In a healthy cardiovascular system, blood pressure should drop by about 10% to 20% while you sleep, a process known as dipping, which gives your heart and arteries a crucial recovery period. However, many seniors become non-dippers, meaning their pressure stays high all night, which is a leading risk factor for stroke and kidney damage. Light pollution in the bedroom, from streetlights, digital clocks, or standby lights on TVs, suppresses melatonin, the hormone responsible for orchestrating this nightly drop in pressure. This matters because melatonin is not just a sleep aid, it is a potent vascular regulator that specifically lowers nighttime blood pressure. If your room is not dark, your brain believes it is still daytime, keeping your sympathetic nervous system active and your vessels tight while you sleep. I recall a patient named Henry, 73, whose daytime numbers were perfect, but he woke up with headaches and fatigue, signs that his pressure wasn't dropping overnight. We realized he slept with the television on and streetlights pouring through sheer curtains. Once he installed blackout shades and covered the LEDs, his sleep quality improved, and his morning pressure finally aligned with his daytime readings. The mechanism is tied to the autonomic nervous system. Darkness signals the parasympathetic system to take full control, slowing the heart rate and relaxing the smooth muscles of the arteries. Chronic exposure to light at night keeps the body in a state of low-grade alert, preventing this deep vascular relaxation. By prioritizing total darkness, you are essentially providing your heart with an 8-hour vacation every single night, reducing the cumulative wear and tear on your system. To do this, assess your bedroom for any sources of light and eliminate them ruthlessly. Use blackout curtains or heavy shades to block outside light, turn digital clocks away from your face or cover them with tape, and banish all charging phones or tablets that emit blue light. If you cannot make the room perfectly dark due to your living situation, wear a high-quality, comfortable sleep mask that physically blocks the light from entering your eyes. This simple environmental change can convert a non-dipper into a dipper, significantly reducing your long-term cardiovascular risk. Do not rely on the television to fall asleep. If you need noise, use a sound machine or a fan, but keep the screen off to protect your melatonin production. This restores the natural nighttime drop in pressure that protects your heart. If you have found these tips helpful, you now have a set of practical, powerful foods to help manage your A1C beyond just medication. Remember that consistency is key. These are habits to build into your life, not quick fixes. If you know someone over 50 who could benefit from this, share this video and subscribe for more simple health tips.